We have ourselves another Yankees series victory. Make that 9 out of 10. Again, the only series lost within that span was the Red Sox series, which we've, beat to death with the fact that that should have been at least a split, probably a series one. The point is that, the Yankees continue to win ball games, and they need to, because this playoff race is not easy. I mean, the American League, it's got a lot of good teams, and the AL East is not out of reach, but I think Tampa's in a decent position right now, but there's still a lot of season left. And then Oakland, Boston, Toronto, and the Yankees. 4 teams, 2 spots. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. But the Yankees are doing their part. And as a continuation of last episode, as it turned out, Gleyber Torres did go on the IL. He's going to be out for, they say, about 10 to 20 days. So he's not going to be back particularly soon. And so that brought Andrew Velasquez to the team. He is actually originally from the Bronx. He's bounced around a bit, most recently with the Orioles. And he got some playing time in this series, although one of the biggest players of the series was Tyler Wade. Really, he has actually played very well lately, as a surprise to most fans. Really putting out some good at-bats, hitting the ball with some authority, and I see no reason why he shouldn't be the shortstop while Gleyber's out, but there's a lot of moving parts here. COVID continues to hit the Yankees, and it is a bit hard to keep track, but the most recent one was Clay Holmes pending a result. Now, I preface this with saying that it's pending a test, but he has temporarily been placed on the COVID list. So that has brought Brooks Kriske onto the roster. There may have been some other moves along the way since the beginning of the series. Nothing that was too earth-shattering. I know Luis Gil got sent down, so I think that brought up Nick Nelson, who was in this series. And what is ahead here is a very important White Sox series, which includes the Field of Dreams game, which is just going to be fun to watch. I don't think the Yankees necessarily have the best matchup when you consider all the players that are out and the fact that it's Andrew Heaney versus potential AL Cy Young winner, former Yankee Lance Lynn. So it's going to be fun. I'm not expecting a win there. Not impossible. But the Yankees did sweep the White Sox at home earlier in the season. And they were all low-scoring close games, which is pretty much the Yankee season for the most part. But this series featured a little bit more offense, slightly more. And the highlight of this series was game 1. I mean, the first game was crazy, where it was a pitcher's duel for the first 6 innings or so. Then basically once the bullpens took over, it was back and forth, back and forth. The Yankees blew 4 saves. They blew it in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and one in the 11th. Just a crazy back and forth. One of the better games that you'll see. A little part of it is the extra inning run around second thing, but even still, like I said, you still have the 7th, 8th, and 9th that were really crazy. And in this game, and it speaks to how important depth can be and how you don't want to write someone off. Luke Voit, there was people in this series that did pretty well that maybe hadn't. Luke Voit being one of them, and he was almost the true hero in this game. And like I said, Tyler Wade had a really good game here. Velasquez makes his debut. Rougned Odor did not start in this one. And what was interesting, too, about this game was that DJ LeMahieu batted 5th. It was the first time he hadn't batted leadoff. It was either leadoff or the first 2 spots of the order. Either way, it had not been since early in his Yankee career, early 2019. This would be the only game where he would bat 5th. And I think part of it was to do with Gleyber, but part of it, I think, was also to maybe get him going slightly. Like if DJ LeMahieu was having a previous 2 season type campaign, then I don't think he would even be considered moving off the leadoff spot. But I think it was notable. And while there was a little bit of bad here, this was a really good series, I felt, for DJ LeMahieu. Is the power there? No, it's not. But the multi-hit games, getting on base, I liked what I saw in the series from LeMahieu, and I've been a harsh critic of him this season, and he was like, love the guy, my favorite player. But this is good to see. I think he finally did get his batting average to 270, and it's been kind of been in the 260s. It might have even dipped to the 250s at one point. But here nor there, who continues to really be great is Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon is now has an ERA down to 3.82. He would go 6 innings, 1 run, none earned. We'll talk about why that was an unearned run, but Taillon has been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Patience was key there. Coming off Tommy John surgery, he really just needed to, get some starts in, get his feet wet. And since he's, really gotten comfortable, he is legitimately someone who, if the Yankees make the playoffs, he has to be in that rotation, which at one point would have been blasphemy. So Brett Gardner led off this game, and I'll say this about Brett Gardner. Certainly the case in this game, he has done a very good job of getting on base. He did not start the second game. And in the third game, it was, kind of a ho-hum type performance. But in the first game, Brett Gardner, he'd go 2 for 4 with 2 walks and was a big part of some rallies. But really, in all honesty, straight-up pitchers do it for the first 6 innings. No runs were scored, so let's just go right into the 7th. And in the 7th, it would be a 1-out double for Aaron Judge, and then Joey Gallo would get a lucky single off second base. Plain and simple, it was lucky. And with Gallo, it's still been an overall struggle. In the last game, he did work a couple of walks, but it's a lot of strikeouts, which we knew. But I would say Joey Gallo, it's early. He's had some moments, but haven't loved what I've seen from him at the plate. He gets ahead in the count all the time, so I think that is positive. But yeah, that to me has been a bit of a negative, but they've been winning anyway. And I'll give him this. Good defender, hard worker, good base runner. So there's other things he is bringing to the table. So Gallo gets that single, and then DJ LeMahieu does not come through. DJ LeMahieu here, first and third, 1 out, hits a tapper to the pitcher, Carlos Hernandez, who I should mention pitched really well for Kansas City, and they get Judge out at home. It was a close play. Replay showed he might have been safe, but I agree that if the call whatever the call on the field was going to be was what they were going to keep. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. So it stays tied, but then Luke Voit, surprisingly, rips an RBI single with 2 outs to give the Yanks a 1-0 lead. We moved to the bottom of the 7th, and unfortunately, they were going batter to batter with Taillon, and on an 0-2 count, gives up a single to Emmanuel Rivera. And they take him out. And, I didn't have that much of a problem with this. I know they were trying to get the double play ball with Loaisiga. Loaisiga, for the most part, has been good this season. He didn't have a great night in this one. And what it reminds me of a little bit, too, was one of the games I went to this year was home against the Royals, and that was one of Loaisiga's not-so-good outings. So probably just completely coincidental, but worthy of note. So Loaisiga, they pinch run Dyson, who's a speedy runner, for Rivera, and Loaisiga throws it away. I think it's partial blame to Loaisiga, partial blame to Voit. I think if Rizzo's at first, that ball is caught, but Dyson moves to second. Then they call a balk on Loaisiga, and with the balk, I mean, I don't know what is and what isn't, honestly. It's really tough to tell, but Aaron Boone gets ejected. He was fired up, wasn't happy with the call. He gets tossed, and so run around third, and Ryan O'Hearn gets a sac fly. So Dyson pretty easily, makes his way home, and that would tie it up at 1. But not to be outdone, top of the 8th, the Yankees would take the lead again as off of the left. It was a combination. They bring in lefty Jake Brentz, and Tyler Wade reaches on a catcher's interference. Tyler Wade in this game, I believe, reached base 4 times, which is the first time that he had ever reached the base 4 times in a game in his career. Then he would, with 1 out, he would steal second, and then Brett Gardner would walk. So first and second, they bring in Scott Barlow, the righty, and Stanton strikes out, and then Aaron Judge gets an RBI single, clutch hit for Judge, gives the Yankees a 2-1 lead, and Judge has he's been coming through a little bit better lately in some bigger spots. No doubt about that. But what happened was, luckily, Wade scored before Brett Gardner got thrown out at third. So Brett Gardner, honestly, not the best base runner. You'd think that he would be. He actually, I don't believe he is. And so he gets thrown out here. But like I said, luckily, Wade would score before Gardner was tagged out. So we head to the bottom of the eighth. Yankees have a lead again. And Nicky Lopez singles and Salvador Perez walks. So Loizaga is now out of the game, and they bring in Chad Green, which was a bit of a curious decision. You know, you might want to bring in a ground ball pitcher like Zach Britton. I understand why Loizaga was taken out. He just didn't have it in this one. And so Green ends up kind of getting through it all right. He would give up the lead. Carlos Santana would fly out, and Nicky Lopez would move to third, and then Andrew Benintendi would get an RBI single to tie the game up at 2. But then he would strike out Dyson, and Alberto would line out. So it wasn't pretty for Green. It could have been worse. And so the Royals tied again. So a combination of Loizaga and Green here. And so now we head to the top of the ninth. And the Royals bring in one of the best names in baseball, Richard Lovelady. Richard Lovelady, the lefty, comes in. And with 2 outs, Luke Voit, who I believe is originally from the Missouri. I mean, he was in the Cardinal system. I believe he's originally from Missouri. Could be wrong on that, but I'm almost certain. And Voit again, after that big hit in the 7th with 2 outs, opposite field solo shot to give the Yanks a 3-2 lead. So, all right, they got to close it out now. You know, like they had blown it the last 2 innings. They got to do it now. Not so fast. Zach Britton comes in, gets the first 2 outs. But I'll say this about Zach Britton. He's become a great, or not become, he's always been a great ground ball double play guy, but he's not going to give you 1, 2, 3 inning. It's just, I haven't seen it. You know, certainly he's one that's going to definitely put on some base runners. He's a bit erratic at times. And here, all of a sudden, he loses the zone. 4-pitch walk to Whit Merrifield, who is the leader in baseball in stolen bases. Not a guy you want to walk. And then Merrifield's still second. So, bit of a delayed reaction from Higashioka. Merrifield's in there, and then with, 2-2 count, Nicky Lopez, and Nicky Lopez comes through. Opposite field RBI single to tie the game up at 3-3. So Britton does not get the job done there. And so the bullpen, the high leverage bullpen pieces, fail them here. And I guess they've been better lately, but I still go back to times when, they have had their struggles, but here that happens. And so we had to Britton would hold it at 3. And so we had to extra innings. Top of the 10th rolls around, and Tyler Wade, who was maybe trying to bunt. I didn't even really want him to be honest. I don't like bunting in the top half of an inning, but Wade eventually gets the single. So Velasquez was the runner, moves to third. Then Kyle Higashioka gets a sacrifice fly. Absolutely crushed it to center. Was almost a home run, but Higgy gets the job done. And not only that, but Tyler Wade moves to second. So 4-3 runner on second, and Brett Gardner gets a really big RBI single. Makes it 5-3. And so then Wade Davis comes on. Giancarlo Stanton walks. So you got first and second, but then Judge lines out and Gallo flies out. So it stays 5-3, which is okay. And then Clay Holmes comes in. Now, Clay Holmes, like I said, this would be his last outing before he'd be placed potentially on the COVID list, I guess, pending this test result. But Holmes, who I like, since he's been on the Yankees, wasn't able to get it done here either. So Clay Holmes maybe could have taken that next step in the pecking order, kind of drops just a bit here as it starts off okay. He gets that ground out on Carlos Santana. And it was a rough series for Carlos Santana. He was held in check. But Andrew Benintendi walks, and that's where he went wrong. And then Benintendi goes to second on a wild pitch, and that's really where things become even worse. So second and third, 2-run game, 1 out, and Jarrod Dyson, it's a sac fly. You take that. That's fine. The run scores, but the runner stays at second in Benintendi. But then, here we go again, 1 out away, and Hanser Alberto keeps it alive, gets the RBI single, and ties the game. And then, Holmes does keep it tied. So we head to the 11th, and it's 5-5. Greg Holland comes on for Wade Davis. Right away, DJ LeMahieu, opposite field, little right center RBI double. Good job by DJ. Makes it 6-5, but you need more. You need more. I mean, having a 2-run lead the inning before wasn't enough. Luke Voit lines out, hit it really hard, can't blame him. Then Rougned Odor pinch hits, grounds out. LeMahieu moves to third. Here was the key. Tyler Wade and Kyle Higashioka both walk. So they were able to keep this inning alive. And so that it's bases loaded, 2-out, 1-run game for Brett Gardner. He works a really long at bat, and on a full count, he gets an infield single that, unfortunately for Nicky Lopez, takes a wicked hop on him, kind of hits him in the throat area, it looked like. And so it's ruled an infield single, and LeMahieu scores. Tyler Wade would score, and that gives the Yankees an 8-5 lead. So that was really important. And that would end up proving to be extra important. Wandy Peralta comes in at the bottom of the 10th, and Wandy was able to lock it down, but not without some risky moments, as Cam Gallagher would ground out, which is great. Then Whit Merrifield would strike out. But not to be outdone, RBI single for Edward Olivares makes it 8-6. Then Hunter Dozier single. So here it is. 8-6, first and second, 2-out for Carlos Santana, and he grounds out to Odor at third, and the Yankees win. So it got interesting there as well, but that was really a game for the ages. That was really a crazy game that the Yankees kept on blowing, but they were able to win it. It almost went, I mean, that game was almost a 5-hour-long game, and it only went like 11 innings, right? I mean, for a 5-hour game, you'd think that would have gone much beyond that, but this was like two different games. Like I said, the first 6 innings, no runs, and then a lot of runs the next 5. So we head to game 2, where it would be Nestor Cortez against Daniel Lynch, lefty Daniel Lynch. Lynch didn't pitch particularly well, and Cortez, it's too bad. Cortez didn't really pitch that well either when it was all said and done. He kind of settled down, but then it didn't really work out in the end. And it was a very sloppy game for the Yankees in this one. You got 2 errors from Higashioka, 1 error from Steven Ridings, and 1 from Luke Voit. Just weren't really playing their A game in this one, and it showed. But, early, Sal Perez hits a 2-run homer, gives the Royals an early 2-0 lead. Then in the third, the Yankees would score on a wild pitch, which they tend to do a lot. And I know it's a thing in baseball. I mean, it's common throughout the game, but it would be a 1-out double for Velasquez. He would move to third on a LeMahieu line out to center. And then while Stanton was up, Velasquez scores on a wild pitch. We then head to the fourth, and with 1 out, Rougned Odor walks. And then it's a 2-run homer for Kyle Higashioka. And I'll say this about him. Versus lefties, specifically, he can hold his own against lefties. Against righties, he's not great at all. But against lefties, he can, and he has power. So with Higashioka, he's not going to hit for average, but he will run into one every now and then, and he certainly did here. So that would give the Yankees a 3-2 lead. Then in the, let's say, top of the 5th, there was a missed opportunity to an extent where bases loaded, 2-out, Rougned Odor strikes out, unfortunately. So Odor doesn't come through in that spot, stays 3-2, and then with 2 outs, again, Merrifield getting on base is a killer, as he doubles with 2 outs, steals third, and it's a throwing error by Higashioka. Higashioka needed to not throw that ball. Merrifield had the base stolen, and as he's throwing it, I'm saying, don't throw it. You don't want it to go in the outfield. That's exactly what happens, and Merrifield just comes on home. So that ties the game right there at 3. But in similar fashion to the night before, the Yankees would reclaim the lead, as with 1 out, Jonathan Davis walks. He moves to second on a wild pitch. With 2 outs, it's a RBI single for DJ LeMahieu. He was really, getting it done in this series with runners in scoring position. Besides that situation where Judge got thrown out at home in that controversial play, other than that, he really was good. That made it 4-3. Then leading off the 6th, Cortez makes a major mistake and gives up another home run to Sal Perez. You can't do that. He needed to pitch more carefully. He didn't. It's 4-4. So he would then get 2 outs, but then he would give up a single to Emmanuel Rivera, and they took him out at that point. Now, that was a tough call. I can't destroy Boone for that decision. It doesn't work out as it turns out. Steven Ridings comes in, another guy, similar to Holmes, who had been really good recently, but was not on this night at all. He gives up an RBI double to Hunter Dozier, and that would give the Royals a 5-4 lead, which they would not relinquish. They would keep that lead. And the Yankees would go down very quietly offensively the rest of the night. Ridings in the bottom of the 7th gives up a double to Taylor, a sac bunt to Hanser Alberto, which then Ridings throws away. So Taylor scores, Alberto goes to second, then Merrifield lines out, and that's it for Ridings. So, a bit of a come down to earth, sort of night for Steven Ridings, and hopefully he bounces back. So it's 6-4. They bring in the lefty Joely Rodriguez, and it is a safety squeeze for Nicky Lopez that scores Alberto. Well done. Nothing the Yankees could do there, and the Royals take a 7-4 lead. Then in the bottom of the eighth, Nick Nelson, one of my favorites. I'm joking, obviously. He sucks. Nick Nelson reaches on an error by Luke Voit, and, Voit is not the guy you want over there late in games if you can avoid it. Then Emmanuel Rivera walks with one out. Hunter Dozier flies out and moves Benintendi over to third. Then Michael A. Taylor walks, and then you get a sac fly for Alberto. Long story short, Nelson gives up a run. I guess it ends up being unearned because of the Voit error. But Yankees lose the game 8-4. But luckily, the last game, the rubber game, they would win. And this was a bullpen game. And a lot of the times the bullpen game works for the Yankees. It has. I mean, ever since they really instituted it, I guess, back in 2019, they've kind of went away from it. But whenever they need it, it works. And it did again. This would be, Lucas Licky, who would start, who's been a little up and down lately, and he threw a lot of pitches. He threw 46 in 2 innings, but only gave up 1 run. And the Yankees did something they don't normally do, which was score early. They didn't score often in this game, but they did score early, and they got a lot of hits. But it would be Licky versus Brady Singer. And the game I went to earlier the year was the game that Singer pitched and did not pitch well, but kind of got out of it where the Royals stayed in the game. He was lucky, to have been in that situation. But here, he wasn't so fortunate. I mean, he gave up 10 hits in 3 2/3 innings. And so early on, the Yankees got it going from the jump, which we don't see too often. They're not a great first-inning team, but LeMahieu would walk. And then after a Gardner strikeout, Judge single, Gallo walk. So Gallo would have a couple of walks in this one. Then Luke Voit. Luke Voit with a opposite field 2-run single. So again, Voit on the board, getting it done. And it's funny, most of his production this year has been against the Royals. Small sample size, but that's what it's been. 2-0 for the Yanks. And then Rougned Odor, opposite field RBI single, makes it 3-0. So then in the bottom of the first, it's that guy Whit Merrifield again. Single, steal, wild pitch with 1 out, and then a RBI ground out that gets Merrifield in. So, again, he gets on base. There's a good chance he's going to score with his stolen base prowess. So that would make it 3-1. It would stay 3-1. In the third, Albert Abreu would come on. And Albert Abreu, other than that blow-up against the Rays a couple of weeks ago in that 14-0 loss, he has been really, really good. Albert Abreu has great stuff, and I think he's going to be a part of this bullpen moving forward. Maybe not such an important part this season, but he's got a live arm, and I like what I've seen from him. And Abreu, I thought he actually deserved the win. They gave it to Chad Green, but I think Abreu deserved it. But Abreu pitches a scoreless third. Then in the fourth, Tyler Wade leadoff double. So again, Tyler Wade with a great series. With 1 out, he would steal third, and then DJ LeMahieu again. LeMahieu coming through with an RBI single, making it 4-1, and then Brett Gardner would single, and then Aaron Judge would get an RBI single. And again, Gardner's thrown out a third, just showing, again, the base running not always on point. I know he has his reasons at times, and maybe this one with 1 out, it's tolerable. But this, the run scores, no problem. And the Yankees take a 5-1 lead. Then you get another scoreless inning by Abreu in the fourth. In the bottom of the fifth, again, 5-1 game. It's Cam Gallagher getting a leadoff double. Then Merrifield flies out. Gallagher moves to third. They bring in the lefty Joely Rodriguez. And Nicky Lopez gets the run in. And then, he would reach on an error by Velasquez with that. But then Rodriguez would get Sal Perez to ground into double play. Then in the bottom of the sixth, it would be Chad Green pitching a 1-2-3 inning. He would come back in for the seventh and would pitch another scoreless inning. Got into a little bit of trouble there, but Chad Green with a nice bounce back, performance after some struggles, but he's been okay lately. And Green pitches 2 scoreless. Then in the bottom of the eighth, you get a 1-2-3 inning from Jonathan Loaizaga. Then in the bottom of the ninth, things get a little bit interesting, and I should note that in the eighth, they did some defensive switches where they took Voit out of the game, moved Odor over from third to second, moved LeMahieu over from second to first, and what happened here? And then Tyler Wade came in from left to move to third, and Jonathan Davis replaced Voit essentially. So they moved things around. But Odor, who has struggled in a bit at third, and it makes sense because he's not a third baseman, he would really make a big mistake here at second, and it had me thinking, well, maybe they should have just left Voit. It'll get better once Urshela, who I should also mention, Gio Urshela had a setback, so here we go. The injuries have been crazy again, absolutely crazy, and yeah, Gio, we'll see when he comes back. Anyway, Zach Britton comes on in the ninth, leadoff hit by pitch. That's the thing with him, is that he can lose the zone completely at any moment, but he gets Michael A. Taylor to ground out, and then he gets Emmanuel Rivera to ground into a no doubt game-ending double play, but Rougned Odor, I'm not going to blame Velasquez, who is at short on this play. Odor flips it to him pretty quickly and not that accurately, and nobody's out. I mean, this was the easiest double play. So here it is. Carlos Santana pinch hitting, the tying run against Zach Britton, and Britton does it again in a good way, gets that double play. Wade to Odor to LeMahieu, ball game, Yankees win the series. So now we head to this White Sox series, and the first game is the Field of Dreams game. Like I said, Andrew Heaney versus Lance Lynn, definite edge to the White Sox there. I don't really trust Heaney in a big spot. He did settle down and come through in that last game, so maybe he can carry that over. We'll see. Lance Lynn, again, former Yankee, has done really well. And then they'll have an off day on Friday and head to Chicago for 2 games, and the matchups are likely to be Taillon versus Dylan Cease and Cortez versus Lucas Giolito. So those won't be easy either. I'd have to say, so it seems like, first off, Colin Montgomery should be coming back shortly. Probably, they didn't announce Taillon and Cortez officially, although I'm pretty sure Boone said that they were starting this weekend. Seems like Colin Montgomery will be back in the start of next week. And I guess Luis Gil maybe getting skipped, or at least partially skipped. I would have what I would have done, I think I would have went Gil, if we'll see what happens, Gil Saturday, Taillon Sunday, just because I know that. And what worries me about Heaney is that the White Sox are really good versus lefties. So I'm worried about the Heaney matchup, and I'm kind of worried about that Cortez one as well. So if I had to kind of handicap this, I think you got to give edge to the White Sox for the Field of Dreams game. And then Taillon versus Cease is definitely the best Yankee matchup that I think you could find. And then Cortez Giolito will be a little bit tricky. I would be thrilled if they can take 2 out of 3 in this series. I was happy for them to take 2 out of 3 for the Royals. I'll be really, really pumped if they can, win this series of any kind against the White Sox. It'll be extra sweet to win that Field of Dreams game. It's just one game, but it'll be fun to see. Adds a little different wrinkle and a different element to the season. But again, COVID, injuries, they're piling up, but the Yankees just keep on winning. That's been the theme here. They've taken on that next man up mentality. And you saw in this series, the guy that stands out, Tyler Wade, really stepped up here as Glaber had just gotten hurt. So let's see what happens. Excited to see what happens in Iowa for the Field of Dreams game. And yeah, hopefully the Yankees can continue their winning ways.